Who wants a great retirement? I mean, a truly amazing next phase of life. I'm talking decades. Decades of adventure, freedom, fulfillment. Yeah, we all want it, don't we? But there's a challenge. And it's a challenge many of us may not rise up to. Here's what I mean. If you grew up in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, you might remember what retirement meant to your parents. It was sort of like driving down the highway, looking in the rearview mirror, and so long career. And in front of them, well, all the freedoms they want. Golf every day, traveling midweek maybe to avoid the crowds, or getting that sailboat and sailing off into the sunset. Here we are, 50 years later, and the vast majority of us view our retirement in that same sort of constrictive, slowing down way where we get into cruise mode. Well, that approach, my friends, that invites demons onto your dance floor. You see, most retirements are unplanned, but they usually start with the same foundation, and it's what I like to call the honeymoon suite of activities. Sounds nice, doesn't it? The honeymoon suite of activities. And those include things like the leisure, the travel, or maybe it's gardening for you, or for you, it's home renovations. But like a honeymoon, the benefits are temporary. And when you've done all those things a few times, you're back wondering what your compelling purpose is going to be and who you're going to be in your post-work life. I take it you've heard the phrase, the honeymoon is over? Yeah, this lady's nodding her head. She knows what I'm talking about. Because you see, retirement as we historically know it, it's a disease. It's like sugar on teeth. It causes premature decay, and every year, retirement robs millions of people of years and even decades of vibrant living. The traditional meaning of retirement? We gotta give it the last rites. Yeah, we gotta bury that sucker. The game's changed. The rules have been altered. We need a new playbook. You see, you and I, we live in an unprecedented time. No previous generation has had more wealth, more health span, or more mobility than us. I want you to rewire your mind and think of your retirement, or as I like to call it, work optional living, as a winning lottery ticket, a time to explore your deepest passions, perhaps for the first time, with more resources than you've ever had. You see, the challenge is, when we retire, we flip the wrong switch in our minds. Yeah, we turn on this thing called autopilot. And autopilot is where we cease to guide our life by passion and purpose, and instead surrender to relentless busyness. Does anyone know what I'm talking about or can relate to it? Yeah. Or maybe you know somebody who's so busy with routine and microtasks that they never take the time to figure out what they truly want or care about. Do you know these kind of people? Of course you do. Many of us see them in the mirror every day. I know I do. Back in my 20s, and I'll grant you, that was more than a few decades ago, I read a study, and that study has been my North Star ever since, my guiding light. And the study took a look at thousands of people who were nearing the end of their lives and asked them, did they have any regrets? The number one regret these people had who were nearing the end of their life was they wished they had lived their life more truthful to themselves rather than what others had expected of them. A life more truthful to themselves. That's powerful stuff. And yet, here we are. 50 years after that study, that is still the number one regret of those nearing the end of their lives. You see, what happens when you leave your career, your job, whatever you want to call it, it's like taking your rudder out of the water. You start to drift. Things like purpose, identity, even social structure or daily structure, they all but abandon ship. And there you are, all these resources, time, money that you've earned, you've worked so hard for, and we don't know how to use them in a meaningful and exciting way because there aren't a lot of role models. So what do? We drift. Routine, microtasks. Or we follow the path of well-meaning friends and family, never truly finding our own unique path to enjoy our retirement. It doesn't have to be that way. It shouldn't be that way. Just take a look at Hiromu Inada, who completed the Ironman triathlon in Kona, Hawaii, which is amazing, except this guy was 86. Can you believe it? 86. Laura Ingalls Wilder penned this book you might have heard called Little House on the Prairie. She was 65. One of my favorites, Sir David Attenborough, who has been the voice of the natural world for decades and still is at the age of 93. And these are not outliers in their field. Every month there are more and more stories of those who are 60 plus, 70 plus, doing amazing things and not shrinking from life. What they're doing is finding their passion, digging deep into it. That's the secret. Now, I started my career with a goof. I made a mistake. I went into commercial banking. Think the suit looks good? But I soon realized that I was on the wrong side of the lending table. I wasn't meant to be the banker. I was meant to be the entrepreneur. The banking piece? Well, let's just say that was a family-influenced decision. But I did cut ties with banking, and I went west to Whistler, British Columbia, great ski place, and I bartended for a season, and I saved up some money. And with that money I saved, I bought a ticket to Hawaii. Yeah, this is where you start feeling sorry for me now. But amongst the surf lessons that I took, I got real clear on what my passion was and remains to this day. And that's to help protect the natural world. I came back from Hawaii. I took courses. I volunteered. And over a period of 5 years, I was able to create Canada's largest endangered animal sanctuary and education center. My life was amazing. Every day I was working with Siberian tigers, mountain lions, swimming with jaguars in our lake, running with wolves through the forest, and educating tens of thousands of people on the importance of the natural world. I had the privilege to work with Dr. Jane Goodall and many others who shared this passion. That was mine, and my life was in flow. Have you ever had that alignment? Where you're in the right place, at the right time, doing the right thing. So when you think about your retirement or your work optional life, why shouldn't that be a common occurrence? Let's talk about how you're going to